minutes of our budget hearing. We will be hearing testimony from the Office of Public Safety under the leadership of Mr. Adam Gear. Ms. Lawhead, will you please call the first witness to testify?
Adam Gear, Chief Public Safety Director.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gear.
Good afternoon, Council President.
You can state your name for the record and please begin your testimony.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Council President Johnson and esteemed members of Council, residents of Philadelphia. My name is Adam Gear, and I humbly serve as the Chief Public Safety Director for the city's first ever Office of Public Safety. I'm joined today by my First Deputy, Evangela Manos, and my Chief Operating Officer, Marcia Dixon. I'm honored to serve Mayor Sherrell Parker and to work alongside this body and all our partners, public, private, community, and beyond, to make Philadelphia the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in the country with economic opportunity for all. Thanks to the wisdom of City Council, the position of Chief Public Safety Director was created by public mandate and the Office of Public Safety, formally established by the Mayor's executive order nearly 1 year ago today. Broadly, the order establishes that our mission is to coordinate cross-departmental efforts to promote public safety and provide input to city agencies on matters like resource deployment, policy formation, and stakeholder engagement. In addition to leading on a wide array of interagency intergovernmental efforts, we directly oversee 7 core divisions, which, under the authority and umbrella of OPS, work emergently, cohesively, and collaboratively to help the office fulfill its mission. Those divisions are, and if I can ask them to put their hands up if they're here, because I got a big squad with me today, the Office of Safe Neighborhoods, Office of the Victim Advocate, Office of Reentry Partnerships, Office of Criminal Justice, of course, Town Watch Integrated Services, the Overdose Response Unit, and our Anti-Violence Grants Team, and the other members of the Office of Public Safety. Please put your hands up. I appreciate you all so much doing the work every day. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. That's just OPS. The Mayor's elegant approach to public safety is PI. Where we live is in the P in the I, the space with incredible support from the MDO. But I want to raise this up. We have tremendous partnership in the PPD, and that's the E enforcement piece. It's worth recognizing and saying out loud that in almost my 20 years of service to the city, in the criminal justice space, I've never seen the type of collaboration and partnership between this police department, Commissioner Bethel, and our city government and transparency. The partnership is something truly that we value, and it benefits the citizens of Philadelphia. We added several key positions to reinforce OPS's unified and comprehensive approach to public safety, breaking down internal silos and aligning around a shared mission to deliver the highest quality services to our residents. We hired a new director of performance management, who, for the first time in our city's history, is creating standardized anti-violence metrics that integrate seamlessly with our city's Philly Stat 360. This is critical to our efforts. This work will allow us to more fully understand which of our interventions and programs are working and which are not, or where they're working and what time and why. We added a new director of interagency partnerships who is responsible for ensuring that we coordinate strategically across city government and with our intergovernmental partners. We added a new director of grants who is tasked with leveraging city, state, federal, and philanthropic dollars while supporting our own grant-making programs and fully empowering community-based organizations to lead the way in neighborhood safety. More administrative capacity will be coming online in the coming months, and I couldn't be more proud of our growing team. So what have we been up to in our year? While we are building, we are also moving forward, leading, creating, and implementing major initiatives aligned with the Mayor's vision for public safety, including the landmark Glock switch legislation, which criminalized the use of that Glock switch. And thank you, Councilman Jones, for that. Very important work. Comprehensive opioid canvassing, making sure that we're getting literature and education out to our folks, increasingly older African-American folks in some of our communities who are overdosing. The expansion of our nationally recognized GVI program and the launch of GVIJ, which will specifically focus on our youths. The first ever neighborhood resource center, which is placed strategically in our neighborhoods so that folks who are returning can have access right away to vital services and connections. The nation's first crime scene cleanup here in Philadelphia, where we take that burden away from our folks, that visceral reminder of trauma, which was spurred from a very tragic scene in Council President's District. We didn't stop there. We added clip referrals to that program, so when they're out there cleaning a crime scene, they're also putting eyes in the city and saying, can we repair that? Can we clean this up? Can we do that? And we know that that has a correlation to reductions in crime. We have our, of course, magnificent, and I say that with all sincerity, Anti-Violence Community Partnerships Grants team, who held for the first time a grantee conference last summer. They launched CCG, which is a new grant opportunity for $50,000 to $100,000, bridging that gap between our lowest grant opportunity and our highest. They have synchronized the timing of all 3 anti-violence grant application processes for the first time, so streamlining that, making it easier for the applicant. And this is big. They have diversified and individualized grantee technical assistance. Technical assistance to their grantees in-house from locally owned business leaders, right? So they reached out to local minority-owned business leaders and provide our grantees and our rejectees, in some cases the folks who we want to see make it, providing them with workshops on building and managing partnerships, communication strategies, financial strategies, data collection strategies, strategic planning, and then they have their office hours. And the grants team sits outside of my office, and it's a pleasure to hear the care and sophistication that they take on those calls. They love the work. I love to hear them doing the work, making sure we're setting up our community organizations to succeed and grow. Or be successful in that application to the city the next time. Neighborhood Wellness Corp. My office stood up a court under Evangela Manos and Joshu Harris, worked tirelessly with many city partners, the police department, many external partners to set up a court that we think will be very impactful in Kensington. The Kensington Wellness Support Center, of course, Councilman Lozada, we continue to build that out. The Juvenile Assessment Center, run in our office as well under Kurt August and his team. The Fire Task Force in Kensington, Code Blue and Code Red running out of our office with ORU leading. And of course, the dignified and successful encampment closures. So that's what we've been up to here on almost our birthday for the Office of Public Safety. And we've accomplished a great deal, right? But there's more work ahead, and I can assure you that no one in this administration, no one in my office is complacent. So what are we planning for the future? After our analysis of the city budget, and this is for you, Council President Johnson, and thank you for your patience, we did an analysis of our city agency spending, led again by our new Director of Performance Management. We've identified that $264,489,929, million dollars. So again, that's $265 million roughly, or $250 million across our agencies is tied to anti-violence prevention efforts. It's a historic investment that represents, again, more than $250 million, and that does not include the police department's budget. And of course, you heard the commissioner testify earlier today. They have some spending that clearly also goes to prevention and intervention. The Office of Public Safety's operating budget is roughly $67 million. This will allow us to expand and continue these key initiatives. Our fantastic $25 million anti-violence grant program, expansion of GVIJ, plus GRID, CCIP, and VPP, our CVI community violence interruption models, in OSN, ORU partnership funded by Bloomberg Partnerships Healthy City Grants. This is cool. Our GVI program, for the first time, we're tying it together with ORU. This is the success of the Office of Public Safety. So when our GVI teams go out and identify that folks have substance use disorder, they are getting that person help. They have specialized now in that GVI team. They will have folks who will focus on substance use disorder. Because of course we have folks in GVI who are self-medicating, who are using drugs, and it's the smart thing to do, and it's a testament to the Office of Public Safety and our ability to coordinate. We also have engagement of individuals on State Road and our youth at the PJJSC, expanded juvenile reentry program, and implementation, and we're announcing this today, of an AI-powered software tool that will synthesize crime data and intelligence to allow precision deployment of our community violence interruption teams. This is funded by the Civic Coalition to Save Lives, but we're giving our CVI folks the best of what's out there. Miami used this. They had skyrocketing, as in low, plummeting numbers of violent crime. This app allowed with intelligence, allowed them to be deployed strategically so that they were more proactive in the community, going to places that, based upon the algorithm, would suggest, based upon a recent beef, a recent shooting, and historical data, that they might want to be in this area interacting with these groups. So we're going to roll that out for this summer. To combat the opioid crisis, we have our direct grants that we're now going to be direct funding in the amount of $3.6 million. We also want to have Neighborhood Wellness Corps operating 5 days a week. This is also another announcement. I'm pleased to announce that people have entered Neighborhood Wellness Court during this pilot. They've come in the front door, some of our toughest cases in the city of Philadelphia on Kensington Ave, and they have made it to Riverview. They've made it to the back end, that 90-day to a year facility, beautiful facility. So we know that the connection has been made, and I think that's incredible. Continued opioid canvassing. We have expansion of Kensington Wellness Support Center, 24/7, 365, expansion of PAD program, many other exciting things. The list is getting long, but I want to say that we have accomplished a great deal in standing up a new office and building systems from scratch, aligning agencies and launching innovative life-saving initiatives. But make no mistake, we are just getting started. Gun violence and the catastrophic effects of open-air drug markets are a scourge on our communities. It steals our children, breaks families, and holds entire neighborhoods hostage. We must continue to meet this moment with urgency, with discipline, and with a relentless drive to save lives. This is a full-court press. We will confront head-on the conditions, systems, and behaviors that allow violence to fester, and we will dismantle them piece by piece. Most importantly, we will continue to increase safety, both physically, but also psychologically, and restore norms to every corner of this wonderful city. I believe in our mayor's bold vision, and I believe in the people of Philadelphia. We are building something stronger than a program or policy. We are building trust, building connection, and building an ecosystem that protects and uplifts every resident of this city, from the youngest child to the oldest neighbor. Let us move forward with focus and resolve, knowing that the work is urgent. Together, one Philly, we will make Philadelphia the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in America with economic opportunity for all. And Council President, I could ask to have one more leniency. We do have, this work is not just our office, police department, community partners, this tremendous hall and its members. It's also some of our community members and groups. So we have a number of them here today, and I'd ask them if they could be recognized. Angenique Howard from No Weapons Formed program. We have Matthew Kerr from Beyond the Bars, Edwin Desimore from the Lighthouse, all doing tremendous work on our grants program. Gary Mills from Shoot Basketballs, Not Guns. Gianna Davis and her staff from Positive Choices and Actions program. We have Brenda Mosley, Building a Brighter Future Through the Art of Construction. Shantae Branham from Philly Youth Making Positive Choices program. Thank you so much for your work. Key community, thank you, yes. Thank you for being here. Key partners to our Office of Victim Advocate, Melanie Nelson, Executive Director of Northwest Victim Services. Tim Massaquoi, Executive Director of King Sessing Heals Resilience. Gabrielle Rainey, Director of Victim Services, Central Division. Rodney Babb, Penn Trauma Center. Thank you very much for your work and being here. Kensington Wellness Support Center, Dr. Jean Marie Perrone and Nicole O'Donnell, Penn Medicine Center for Addiction Medicine and Policy. Tremendous partners. And of course, Malcolm Musgrove and David Benoit from Meraki, who we partner with on a number of important initiatives. Finally, Faith Bartley here from Why Not Prosper, an amazing organization. And my daughters are going to want her sweatshirt, so I already told her that. And thank you very much, Council President. With that and an acknowledgement of our tremendous community partners, I would take questions.
Let's give them all a round of applause, y'all. That's what it's about. I think what you showed, Adam, was that the power of partnerships and that we cannot do it alone. And so I thank all the advocates who are here. I thank all the boots on the ground organizations who are here with the sole purpose of moving our city of Philadelphia forward and making sure it's a safe city. I just want to take a moment, Adam, first and foremost to thank you for your leadership. The co-sponsor of the legislation that created your position was based upon our former council president, Darrell Clark. Only two members particularly were prime co-sponsors. One is the chairman of public safety, which is Councilman Curtis Jones, and myself, who serve as chairman of the special committee on gun violence. And so I believe our investment we're receiving a return on our investment based on your leadership, and most importantly, you're bringing people together, which feels very, very refreshing. I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge a couple individuals who my office have been working with as it relates to addressing the issue of gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia, and most importantly, making sure my district is a safe district. I want to acknowledge one of the leaders in person who really helped me get started early on, before the council presidency, before the state rep office, before the district council person, just when I was an advocate running my organization, Peace Not Guns, and I just needed some support. I want to acknowledge Mr. Anthony Murphy from Town Watch. I appreciate you always being supportive. I also want to acknowledge, again, before we actually had a chance to take the Office of Violence Prevention to the next level, they assigned this gentleman to actually start working with us to put grants together for the Boots on the Ground organization. I think at that time it was up to $10,000, and now we're up to $1 million. That's Shondell Ravel. I want to acknowledge him as well. When you talk about the issue of reentry and making sure that everybody deserves a second chance, because people make mistakes sometimes, right? And I'm never ashamed to talk about, I got a degree from Penn, did coursework at Harvard, graduated from Mansfield, but I had a judge named Frank Reynolds at one particular point in time. But some people saw some things in me that I probably didn't see early on and invested in me. So I've been working with this young lady to make sure we address those individuals who may have made a mistake and just want to get their lives together. So from the Office of Reentry, Mrs. Sada, just want to give her a round of applause as well. She's been helping with the prisoners up at Phoenix Prison, right? And is making sure that we're supporting the Lifers program up there called FACT, and just supporting those individuals. And also just want to acknowledge making sure we address the issues of supporting victims of victims of gun violence. Mr. Derek Holmes, just want to acknowledge her as well. And last but not least, he's downstairs on the second floor, but he's always Team Johnson. Just want to acknowledge Mr. Joshua Harris, a passionate, hardworking individual, and want to welcome him back. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a deeper dive because I want my members to have the opportunity to ask a significant amount of questions during this process. But one of the things that came to my attention that I just want to address, that I always want to make sure we're addressing in this budget, is making sure we're consistently addressing the support for the boots on the ground organizations, right? I believe from your leadership and even the prior administration leadership and us all working together, we have been able to change the narrative and not focus on mass incarceration, but focus on the issue of prevention, right? And we're seeing a 30-year historical low when it comes to gun violence and shootings here in the city of Philadelphia. And I believe and I know for a fact that the work that my colleagues and I have been doing day in and day out to put the support that's needed in the hands of the individuals who are actually out there working with the people who are significantly impacted by gun violence, working with the young men and the young ladies, and encouraging them not to pick up guns and get involved in the life of crime and gun violence, I believe is a direct result of the work and support that we have been done. And so give me an idea of, one, I know last year we had a $29 million budget proposal, and it started at 24 million, and then I asked for additional 4.8 million, which brought it up to 29 million. And so I want to get an idea, how much have we spent, how many organizations have we actually supported, and overall, what does the program look like in terms of how you're going to be moving forward? Obviously, making sure you talked about the technical assistance that's supporting organizations, which I believe is great, and also making sure that we continue to make sure that this is a robust program that's supporting those most in need.
Thank you very much for the question, Council President. And again, I want to acknowledge your leadership in this area of public safety as well, your tremendous leadership, your support of these programs, along with many members of council as well, including Council Member Jones, who's the chair of public safety. We also, like you, believe that this work is critical to our success here in making our city safer. We too believe in the strength of these community organizations and the work that they do. I wish we could have invited them all here, but that would have been about 142 organizations in terms of what we're planning on funding, what we have funded with the money rather, because we just notified our TSIG grantees beginning yesterday of their awards. So to answer your question, it'll be about 142 organizations who will receive money from the city of Philadelphia. We intend to use every single penny of that, confirmed this morning with our grants team as well. So we're well on our way to spending every single penny of that money. It will go to our TSIG grantees, of which there will be approximately 62. That's our lowest funding, $1,500 to about $50,000. We will have 18 organizations in our new community capacity grant. That is about $1 million of funding. And if I can stop here, our community capacity grant is new. Our grants team was thoughtful enough to think about the fact that we didn't have a grant amount for folks between $50,000 and $100,000. So it went from TSIG right to CEG. Well, we created a program where we invite folks who are doing really good in our TSIG program, that lowest level of funding. If they were doing really good, if they had promise, if they've been working with us, we invited some of those organizations, 18 of them, into this bridge, this gap between the two fundings, so that we can continue to give them support, because the idea is bringing our local smaller organizations from beginning, right, all the way up to the top, where they can compete for those bigger philanthropy dollars, where they can be the big dogs, so to speak, right? So we had those 18 organizations that for the first time we invited in, and we're gonna push them from that CCG middle level up into that CEG, where they can go for that $1 million funding at some point and help our communities. And in that top tier, we will fund 63 organizations, about $21 million. Now, we have aligned those organizations to align again with the police top 10 districts, with our pinpoint districts. So this is strategic. And we will offer a briefing to council on all of this if you would like, but we will show on our fancy heat maps that our Director of Performance Management now has given us the overlap between where our grantees are operating and where most of the crime in Philadelphia is being driven. So we're also being strategic about this, but we intend to use every single dollar, and we believe it's a tremendous piece of the puzzle here in our fight against gun violence and violent crime.
And the last question before I turn over to my members for the first round. Very, very strong advocate and support in victims and co-victims of gun violence. And there's going to be a $3 million investment regarding burial costs. And I want to acknowledge again Derek Combs. I want to acknowledge Joshua Harris. This is an issue that always have had a significant impact on the most vulnerable population when it comes to individuals who have to bury a loved one. So talk more about this particular fund.
So this is something that the victim advocate, Ms. Combs, brought to our attention early on and has advocated for, and I know we had a brief conversation before this. That's what she does excellently. She advocates, right, for victims of crime. And what we were finding is that folks who unfortunately had to bury a loved one due to a violent crime, most often gun crime, they're having problems getting reimbursed, right, from the state. The state has a fund where they can pay for funeral costs. They might not have even had $6,000, $10,000, which is the average to bury a loved one. So as a city and as an advocate, she said, wouldn't it be great if we could help folks get that payment out to these funeral homes who are demanding payment up front a lot of times, right, who want that money before they'll take the person in. They're dealing with enough. And our job as a city is to continue to step in these ways. The crime scene cleanup unit that she operates out of her office, the victim, co-victim letters that they send out with resources to every single victim of a gun crime, no matter who you are or what side of the gun you're on. And now this funeral expense program, which we think will again continue to assist with the trauma and healing our communities and folks who are dealing with this devastation.
Your current budget is requesting how much for the Office of Victims Advocate? How much, what's the funding level?
So the total funding level for the Office of Victim Advocate and if one of my colleagues finds it, it's $2.4 million is a total budget.
2 point,
Correct.
you said 2.4?
2.4 million, correct.
Okay. And how are we coordinating with the Office of Victims Advocate? And I'm supportive of, I saw the proposal from Commissioner Bethel, right? Because we know in the homicide unit, there's always been an issue where revocations are going cold or not. There's a lack of communication between the homicide detective and that family member that's just seeking answers. Sometimes it's just a phone call to say, you know what, we don't have any information at the moment, but we're still trying to find out who committed the act. How are we co-coordinating? Because if you got the commissioner and his team doing his part, and the office was created pretty much to really be the overseer of all things victims and co-victims of gun violence. And just to remind folks, this started because on a state level, it was the Office of Victims Advocate was directly focusing on really acts of sexual violence, not particularly those who are impacted by actual gun violence. So how are we going to co-coordinate those two responsibilities to make sure there's not an overlap?
It's a great question, Council President. First of all, I believe in what the commissioner in that office, what they're trying to do. As a homicide prosecutor, I saw the frustration often on co-victims of crime wanting to get answers of court dates. What's happening with that? Did you talk to this person? Did you do that? I heard that this person might have been involved. That's a lot on a homicide prosecutor who there might be another skill set, right? Another assistant who might be able to help in that, and that's what that office is trying to do. So I believe in that work. The good news is that the person who heads that office was a former employee of our Office of Safe Neighborhoods, my office. And we know that there's plenty of work to be done in supporting our victims and co-victims of crime. So their focus, as I understand it, will be really as case managers for their cases, for these criminal cases. And there's a lot of space for our Office of Victim Advocate to continue to do the advocacy work that she does, the emirs, connecting folks, running all the programming that she does. And we will make sure, as with all of our relationship work with the police department, that we're communicating in clear-eyed about people's missions and focus so that there's no overlap, but that we're maximizing our touches on this demographic.
Support what the commissioner is doing 1,000%. I'm always looking at making sure we're co-coordinating, right?
Yep.
So everybody be on the same page. And the last thing I need help with, I don't want to spook nobody, right? My staff said don't point it at them. In all seriousness, right, because you're the head public safety person in the city of Philadelphia, right? And these are being sold at stores all throughout the city of Philadelphia. And we know in Point Breeze about 2 weeks ago, officer-related shooting was a result of somebody carrying a fake gun, right? But particularly, I look at the stores, which these are supposed to be banned from. I know I introduced legislation some time ago to ban them unless they're fluorescent, like yellow or red, right? But technically they're banned in the city of Philadelphia. But yet these stores, I believe, are preying on our communities, right? Poor communities for the most part, selling these, which I look at as a way of just grooming young people to participate in gun violence, right? And so I'm going to be reaching out to you and your team and see how we can work in partnership with PPD, but most important, license and inspection, right? To begin looking at these stores that sell these prop guns to our children at the end of the day. And give you another example, I think they have like these gels that go inside of them, right? And I know for a fact a case where they were playing with these gel guns, right? And somebody got hit with one, but they came back with a real gun, right? Because they, at that particular point in time, they probably didn't feel like playing, or you shouldn't have shot me with a gel gun or not. And so the fact that they are illegal, though, we're going to reach out to you and your team to figure out how we can strategize and work together to do our part to try to keep these out of hands of our young people, because this is, I believe, the graduation into the next point.
That's
right. And then and I've known stories in the past where all it takes is a kid to say, you know what, because it looks so real, let me go ahead and do a robbery with it. They don't know if it's real or not, but they will probably still try to do a robbery. And I've witnessed when they did try to do that robbery with that fake gun, on the other side was a real gun, right?
Yep.
So sometimes, we have to police ourselves, right, in terms of our community, and make sure that, particularly those that sell these, I just believe, like all of the other nuisance stores, are just taking advantage and exploiting the very same communities that we come from. We're trying to keep crime and violence down. And so I definitely reach out to you in the near future. And at this moment, the chair recognizes Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to, good afternoon, first of all.
Good afternoon, Councilmember.
Want to follow up on the line of questioning regarding victims and co-victims of crimes. And I'm pleased to hear that, there is money regarding, some kind of funeral services and things like that. That's awesome. That's a service that many Philadelphians need. But can you talk to us about how your office or the Office of Victim Advocates works in conjunction with the District Attorney's Office of Victim Advocates, and what is that overlap, right? Because they're gonna come to us and ask us for money to fund their stuff. You're coming to us to ask for money to fund your stuff. Like, tell us what the differences are between those two offices, and what, and how, I guess, Philadelphians can access those particular services.
Right, so I don't want to speak necessarily too much for the DA's office and their team. What I can say is that they have a team that responds to homicides. They have a team of victim advocates who respond to the scene. They will provide support in real time. Now, we as an office similarly have our rapid response unit, and we have our response folks. Amir, again, we have our folks who respond as well. They will respond, though, to shootings, to other multiple people shootings, so to other incidents, not necessarily just homicides. So that's a distinction. The other distinction you'll find is in the victim relocation funds. Again, as I understand it, the DA's office victim relocation funds are meant for victims who are tied to a case, right? There's either an active case or there's going to be an arrest made, and that person needs relocation. Through the Office of Victim Advocate, it's a broader type of case that we can relocate. So there doesn't necessarily have to be a criminal matter or tied to a case or something like the DA's office. So her, as in the Victim Advocate, her fund is broader to be able to relocate individuals. But I know our Office of the Victim Advocate under Adair Combs reaches out to the DA's office all the time to coordinate efforts. She also comes from the DA's office and knows that work well. So I know that she is certainly reaching out and trying to make those coordinations wherever possible.
Thank you. My next question is regarding the grants allocated for public safety, right? I believe it's $125 million or something like that. That's allocated. Can you talk to us about what type of organizations are eligible to apply and what are the stipulations to receive these fundings?
Great question, Councilmember. So the types of organizations that we target have to be into anti-violence work. So there must be some type of programming aspect of it that is meant to address violence in our communities, and particularly gun violence. I can tell you a change that we made also, which will illustrate a point here. It used to be that we would give preference, we'd only focus on young men. And when we came in, we said, well, let's remove the young men, because there's also some young women in our community, some women in our community who also, there could be increased programming on. So that's a change we made, and so it broadened our scope of folks who can apply for grants and for these opportunities. We have these 3 grant opportunities, as I said, so we have small organizations setting up one-time cookouts that's meant for people to get into safe spaces, and they're coordinated with schools or whatever. Smaller grants that are just one-time programming things, medium-sized ones, so the programming might be a couple of weekends or maybe a few months. And then we have our bigger CEG grants, like Amir, again, I keep using them because they're just tremendous, they're great, where they're operating year-round doing a whole host of services for us. You know, I've told some of you before behind closed doors, the hardest part of my job so far, there's been a lot of difficult things. One of the most difficult things is an organization not getting funding. That's a tremendous organization. That's a great organization. We just had record numbers of applicants, and we will support and try and strategically align the best organizations for the work that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have that record number because we're in a crisis, and there are a lot of people who want to help, who are on the ground, who are on the ground doing the work, and you know, sometimes they're pulling their own, you know, taking their own money out to do some of this work, and whether they're small size, medium size, whatever, right? There's a different, they serve a different, all serve a different clientele and have a different reach when it comes to in the community. So I just would like if you could take a look at some of the, I guess, qualifications for some of these organizations, right? Because some might not be as organized as others. You know, I saw Mike Taban in here earlier today, right? Like, that's a person that has been on the ground doing work in communities since I was an intern, right, in college, right? He's been on the ground doing stuff. And we just want to make sure that those organizations like that don't get lost because they're really the ones that are actually have an impact, who have direct relationships with the individuals that we're trying to connect with. So, you know, hopefully, you know, we can figure out what that looks like and allowing them the grace and opportunity to apply for some of these grants. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Member Young. Mr. Chairman, the Public Safety, Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've come a long way since we advocated for this office. I heard the width and the depth of some of the work that you're doing, and I'm sitting here thinking that there's got to be a correlation between you, which is the straw that stirs the drink of public safety, and the reduction overall in some of these activities. So we are very grateful. I want to focus my questions from the macro to the micro very quickly. What do you think your exposure rate is from number 47 and some of the monies that are actually pass-throughs to places like PCCD? Is there an exposure that at some point he may turn off the spigot to some of this? That's question number one. Number two, on the micro side of it, we're about to Thursday vote on a package of individuals that will be, I like to call them the new Beatles of the Citizens Police Oversight Committee, and where we are in the negotiations for independent investigations for them. And I would like, if you could, to let Director McCleary come up and just tell us where we are by way of the appointments that, Mr. President, you are going to have to review and approve.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, Councilmember Jones. It's worth repeating your support and your leadership here in public safety for the city. With respect to the federal funding, we have not seen any impact at this point. We, thanks to Rep. Scanlon's advocacy, received a $615,000 federal loan that we have already started to pay down on it by way of employees, for our GVIJ program. So we've hired 3, we're gonna hire 2 more, and we're gonna have that program rolling, right? But to answer your question, no. We have hired a director of grants. We did a national search, brought her here, back to the city of Philadelphia, and it's, I can say, good timing. She has a reputation, a national reputation. She's worked nationally on getting money into our pockets by any means necessary. So we're gonna be creative. We're gonna find ways, opportunities to continue to get money so that we can continue our mission. But we don't have, you're never gonna hear an excuse from me. We're gonna do what we have to do with what we have, period. To answer your second question with CPOC, I understand that, by the way, again, thank you for your support and leadership on CPOC. It is tremendously important to have an independent body that thinks about police oversight in a city of our size and with the complexities of the issues we have. My understanding is that they've recently filled some seats and that they're very excited to share that information. And I know some of those folks, and so I think it'll be tremendous to have that panel finally filled out and working as partners in our space to make sure that we have a police force that we all are proud of, and we are.
Could she come up and maybe share where we are? Mr. President, I was taken aback to find out that the first police advisory committee was established in 1958 at the insistence of Cecil B. Moore and Reverend Leon Sullivan. And so we are the first in the nation to have a police advisory committee. And I did not know that until Ms. McCleary brought that to our attention.
So good afternoon. Thank you so much, Councilmember Jones, for allowing me to come up. I'm Tanya McCleary. I'm the Executive Director for the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. And we are excited, hopefully this Thursday, to have the Beatles. Our office did close to 100 hours of support for the selection panel in an administrative role. We had over close to 70 applications. The interview panel interviewed many, many people to get it down to these 5 people. And so we think that you all will be excited about the slate of candidates, the skills that they bring. We even had somebody that's former law enforcement, so that's going to bring expertise from the inside to this commission, and we're really excited, and we want to thank Councilmember Jones and the selection panel for their leadership. In terms of the independent investigations, we have been working very closely with the Office of Public Safety and the Labor Department to ensure that CPOC will be able to hopefully testify to the arbitration panel. We're working out those dates. It'll be in May. And we are on the precipice. We are on the precipice of getting these independent investigations. I just want to remind council, we testified in November that we're not doing them yet. We're very close to it, but we're not doing it. And so we need to be able to do it. And depending on where you sit, people may not understand that people don't always want to go to the police department to have their things investigated. We are a safe haven for many people. And in fact, we know that because as our office has grown more notoriety and more influence in the communities, our complaints are up 30%. And I know some of you may say, well, that's a bad thing, Director. Why do we want more complaints? And that's, well, when I see more complaints, it's because I think people are starting to feel more comfortable and knowing that they have a safe place where they can bring them. But we've also had people walk out of our doors or hang up the phone when they realized we weren't going doing the investigations. Because what happens right now is you come to our office, we package it up, but it goes to internal affairs. And when people learn that, we have literally had people say, I don't want to file this complaint anymore. I don't feel safe. I don't feel confident. Whatever it is, it's a myriad of legitimate reasons. And they've walked away, and now the police department will never know the concerns about a particular officer because that person has not gone forward. And so that is what we are dealing with right now. We are dealing with that reality, that there may be some things that are going on that I'm sure Police Commissioner Bethel will want to know. But he's not going to know them because people are not going to file the complaints because our office isn't doing the investigations. So, and I also want to be clear, there's always been confusion about the criminal. We're not doing criminal investigations, we're doing administrative. So we're not going to be out there dusting for fingerprints and all these kind of things, as the rumors have said. We are handling administrative investigations, the same ones that Internal Affairs does. And so I just want to also be clear for that. And this office has made tremendous strides. We have made tremendous strides. We did over 100+ public events last year. We have gone and sat on 34 PBI, and that's the disciplinary hearings, for full hearings for officers. We have taken in over 200+ complaints. Like I said, that's up 30% from what we did last year. We are in the media, and we are meeting with people time and time again. So I'm asking this council and council to just really think about us, and we need extra funding. So we need the funding to do the things as well. We have been doing a lot, but we need to be able to do more. And I always want to tell people, you don't have to choose. You can support PPD and CPOC. You can support both, because we want, at the end of the day, officers to go home safe and community members to go home safe, and we want them to be the best. So you don't have to choose between the two. You can support both of us. And so I hope the council supports us, and I'm looking forward to having those commissioners come on and support us. And once again, I want to thank Councilmember Jones for this opportunity.
I just want to thank you, colleagues, for being steadfast and supportive. I heard Member Brooks question where we were with the contract, and I was very proud to hear it coming from a voice other than myself. But at the end of the day, we are lucky to have these folks right here, because it's not if we are going to have our George Floyd moments, it is when. And what we have to depend on is that the public believes that there is a fair, impartial system that is going to take on those complaints. It is more important sometimes than we know. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Chairman Jones. The chair recognizes Dr. Anthony Phillips, member.
Thank you so much, Council President. I just want to ask the following questions. One, in the city of Philadelphia, when we decided, the city agreed, our residents agreed to have his office open, also Council President Clark proposed his office, one of the chief things that this department is supposed to do is to coordinate a violence prevention strategy at every city office. Is supposed to have something that is dealing with the public. They're supposed to have some sort of violence prevention strategy, such as the Commerce Department, DHS, Clean and Green, Parks and Rec. I just want to talk about, like, if you can talk more about your plan this year to make sure that all of these public-facing departments have a violence prevention strategy as well.
Councilmember, thank you very much for your question. So to answer your question, we feel a lot of our work, right, the bread and butter of our work, and if you look at our portfolio, if you look at everything we're doing, it is interagency related. So the way that we see this, and then I'll get to what we're to the core of your question. But the way that we see our operation is not necessarily, it's slightly different. Not necessarily you have your own plan, but your plan needs to be part of our city plan, right? So
Excuse me, Mr. Garrett.
Yes.
A second, y'all turn your phone off or something? Whoever out there got their phone on, disrupting the hearing?
So for Kensington, for example, in all our efforts in Kensington, we don't want streets to be out there cleaning the streets as part of a plan that they think is their own public safety. So what we do is we step in and we coordinate with streets. We will coordinate with OHS. We will coordinate with DBHIDS to make sure that they are on our plan for that particular action. And I don't necessarily want to bring up the tragic shooting that happened on your playground, but we were out there the night of, and I went to the scene. It had been cleared in record time. I don't know how the police department restored the scene. Kids were playing on the playground just feet from where it had happened before, but there were some chalk markers, about 17 of them left, that were circled just a few hours ago, there were shell casings. And so me being out there, I saw that, we tightened that up. I reached out to Commissioner Slauson because we're in constant communication to make sure that we have a plan for when crime scenes are left on our rec centers and stuff like that, that we also clean up the chalk markers so that our kids aren't seeing that, right? So that's a coordination. Now, where we are going with Philly Stat 360, now with our own internal performance management person, and they're gonna be aligned, that process of identifying where our anti-violence spending was in each of the agencies, which we completed about a week ago by some measure, and yesterday by other people's measure. We now know how the agencies are spending their money that we think is violence prevention related. We will now be able to tie that information in with our work, with our metrics, with 360, which are going to be speaking the same language, and be able to coordinate even greater around some of our challenges. But the way that I think about it is that we're trying to identify what their public safety mission is, but then we are helping to coordinate and dictate the interagency response to whatever that is.
Thank you. I see what you're saying. I'm hoping that everyone can have their own plan that coordinates with you. Basically, I understand what you're saying, that it has to be reviewed and evaluated by you all, but it's connected with what your department mission is. And I just think that could be even more helpful in the involvement in the development of your department. And I just want to throw this in really quickly. Where is the funding? Can we have a better transparency on how these community organizations that you're funding are going to be helping districts with their public safety concerns? Because honestly, I don't know any community organization that you funded that is within our district, and it may be because I'm not on the internet or researching it or whatever that might be, or I don't know if their grant detail is saying this is going to be helping Albany, this is going to be helping Mount Airy, West Oak Lane.
Yep.
I would like to get those details in the future across the district so they, these funds can help us.
Great question, council member. We have been thinking about that too. We were planning on demonstrating for council members a GIS tool where you'll be able to do just that. It's with our OIT department now so they can officially publish it, but within a week or two or however long it's going to take them to officially publish it, you will be able to go to a map, a web page on your phone, type in your zip code. You can search by, I believe, councilmatic district. We're going to have the capability. And it'll show you with a radius that you can toggle 1 mile, 5 miles, 10 miles, all of the city services related to public safety, including our grantees. So it'll be uploaded with what grantees are operating within your district. And I know I mentioned this at the town hall. In your particular district, about $14 million of our anti-violence groups will be operating in your district. So when we took a survey, we set up the zip codes that make up your district.
So 14?
14 million, but that's
14 out
But
of 29?
they probably overlap, Council
Is
President.
that because the mayor used to have that district in the
no, that's
14 that's a nice.
They probably
I can
overlap.
explain,
That's the
remember.
point. But I would like to see what their
Because
proposed
they
plan is,
also-
what they're supposed to be doing in our districts.
Member Phillips,
I just know I think it's probably like some of these violence prevention groups are smart. They'll say we do Albany, we work in South Philly, and so I think it probably overlaps. But then
There's
it's like,
overlap with
I
that
don't
number.
know how.
okay.
I just don't know exactly what they're doing. I mean,
But for the record, though, the 9th councilmatic district, the former
yes.
right.
mayor's district is getting 14
Hey.
million of overlap funding
It needs-
around violence
I
prevention.
object. I object. No, but seriously, Councilmember Phillips. Councilmember Phillips, I want you to know though, seriously, with this, you will be able to have a description of the organization, and we're happy. I think we should do a briefing when we roll out our GIS tool, just so that you can use it and explain to your constituents the resource. It also has fire departments, cold blue shelters, red. It's going to have all of that, and you can click which ones you want to see. But you will be able to see exactly what groups are operating in their district and get to know them, and we're, of course, happy to make that introduction as well.
Thank you, Council President. I'll talk about town-wide services in my next round.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. Looking forward to that, to that new technology. I like that. The chair recognizes Councilmember Nicholas O'Rourke, then Councilmember Hardy. then Councilmember Lozada.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Director Gear, as well as Manos and Dixon. Blessings to you all. Director Gear, I want to start by examining the Wellness Court pilot, which the administration hopes to expand from 1 to 5 days per week. This proposal raises some serious concerns, especially in light of critical reporting that suggests that the pilot has produced mixed and, in some cases, troubling outcomes. We've seen accounts of individuals being picked up and funneled into treatment, only to leave, expectedly, I might say, prematurely. That raises major red flags about consent, raises red flags about effectiveness, certainly about expense. Frankly, it's hard to reconcile this level of investment in an under-evaluated pilot with the administration's decision to cut programs like Zero Fare, if I might make a plug, which, although providing transit access to over 20,000 Philadelphians, the administration has decided to cut because it's an insufficient return on investment. Where is that same level of scrutiny being applied to the mayor's signature public safety initiatives? I want to ask some specific questions that I believe are still unanswered. I'd like to get through as much as we can during this round, so please allow me to outline at least half of the questions before you respond, and if you could summarize the responses, I really appreciate that so we can get through all of them. How many individuals have gone through the Wellness Court to date? Of those, how many have been arrested or jailed? How many received treatment, and how many exited treatment in less than 1 week? If a person agrees to enter treatment, but then doesn't begin treatment and does not return to court, what options are available to them? What processes are in place to determine whether individuals being picked up, 1, consent to treatment, and 2, are competent to stand trial? And then what is the administration doing to guard against potential constitutional violations in this whole process?
Thank you very much for your questions and honestly for your concerns, many of which when we embarked on the process of trying to develop this court, I guess maybe 9 months ago, we started with these questions because the charge was clear from the mayor that we have to restore norms to a community that's ravaged by the opioid open drug market in Kensington. I've spent enough time up there to expect that every time I go up there, I will likely see someone injecting a needle into their neck in broad daylight, and there may be a child in the vicinity, and we know the trauma that implores. So the charge was to reject the status quo with respect to allowing our communities to suffer in this way. And the folks, importantly, which is why we started there. We did an exhaustive analysis and a thoughtful approach of making sure that as we move forward with this Wellness Court pilot, that the safety and dignity of our folks is up front. And that's why literally up front, when they walk in through the door, they see a nurse who, if there is any sign of decompensating or anything, are taken directly across the street to Episcopal, which we've done. We have, with the Defenders Association's partnership, for the first time in our city's history, an ability to clear local warrants and other issues that, but for that process, the folks would be sent up to State Road in the condition that they're in. Instead of that, my folks, police department, Defenders Association, anyone else does whatever they can
That's my bail, Director Gear.
to make sure. But I want to answer your question because this is critically important stuff.
Please do.
What I think we're doing is taking a lot of the risk out, and we're of interacting with folks, right, who are decompensating, and we will
Brother,
have a doctor.
Can I get an answer on the direct questions that I asked, respectfully?
If I was a lawyer, I'd say that it was a compound question. So I was going to ask you to go through, and I'm a lawyer, so I'd ask you to go through and maybe give me 1 or 2 or 3, and then I'll be able to give you. Right.
And then I'll come back around for the second round after that. So again, how many individuals have gone through Wellness Court to date? Of those, how many have been arrested or jailed? How many received treatment? And how many exited treatment in less than 1 week? And if a person agrees to enter treatment, but then doesn't begin treatment and does not return to court, what options are available then?
Right, so
Let's
there's
just do those.
still too many questions, but let me generally speak. And we will have a full briefing for you. We've also promised Councilmember Brooks that in 6 months, we're gonna have a look-back period where I think it will be fair to look at the numbers. We have been operating 1 day a week for 9 weeks now, just 1 day a week, and one of those weeks we really weren't in operation. I think as someone who is into the social science, it's just too early to tell. We've had 64 referrals come through our doors, 64 folks during those days. I can tell you that we've cleared.
Mr. Gear,
Yes,
excuse me 1 second.
Sure.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas, point of information.
A point of information on Councilmember Aurora's question. I specifically would like to hear the answer to his question around the thought process, right? He asked in the beginning if the pilot, and maybe you can reword it, Councilmember Aurora, but he talked about the pilot for SEPTA and compared it to the thought process to the pilot around the wellness center. So I think for me, Council President, if I can just help get some clarity on around that side, along with the numbers that he asked, I think that would be beneficial. Sorry, Council President.
Member Gear, Mr. Gear.
so I want to make sure that I'm understanding the question clearly, because if you could rephrase the question.
I think it's a,
We're talking about pilot programs, right? This is one, the SEPTA Zero Fare was one. We haven't even completed the full reporting date as it relates to SEPTA Zero Fare, and yet there has been a proposal to go ahead and cut it under the auspices of it, the funding being dried up. We have evidence, and we're collecting reports around that. How is it that that would get cut because it's not a return on investment? But this pilot program, which has some questionable mixed result, right, is we want how many millions of dollars? We want over $100 million. So just clarity.
So this pilot program is $2.6 million, and then it's another $1 million for the defenders, and we're talking about neighborhood wellness court, to be able to operate. So first of all, it's 2.6, it's 2.6
No, I am talking
and
about the wellness court.
So there will be a day where the managing director's office will come, we're gonna talk about the wellness center. And we don't wanna also think about any of this work in a vacuum, okay? We are building out for the first time an ecosystem, and I've just in my opening comments informed how much it honestly means to me that we have had folks come into wellness court and they are at Riverview. So I reject the notion that there's problematic and all this stuff. We briefed the ACLU and their partners
And
on the court.
respectfully, sir,
No,
I hear you rejecting the
I'm going to
notion.
finish the question.
Well, the
briefed
issue is you haven't answered them.
ACLU.
The issue
We
is you haven't
offered-
answered, Mr. Gear,
we
you haven't
offered
actually
future
answered the
briefings
questions.
to the ACLU, and we did not.
Mr. Gear, hold on for a second.
Yes, sir.
Mr. O'Rourke,
And I truly do not mean to sound unkind or disrespectful.
No, you're not.
I am asking, though, specific questions as it relates to what is being produced from this pilot program that many have questions about. And I hear you making the case for it and, arguing what I think many of us understand in terms of what's needed to address many of the issues in the city. And also, we're talking budget, we're talking numbers, and I'm trying to understand the logic here that we would, in one instance, cancel one pilot program, and this one, we want to fund it. And even with all of the wonderful accolades that's being given, I can't get you to answer clearly any one of these. I've reduced it down. I gave you 6 first, now 4. It's too many. You're not giving me a straight answer. It's very difficult to be persuaded or convinced by what you're saying.
We had put on the record the first day of testimony that we'll be happy to circle back in 6 months when it's fair to the work, right? When we have actual reliable numbers rather than sit up here and try and opine on the numbers that we have so far. Now, I don't want to talk about other programs, this, that, and the other. I'm here to talk today about Wellness Court. We are facing a humanitarian crisis in Kensington. It is imperative that we develop new strategies that are as dignified and strategic as what we have done, because the other option is police department is going to continue to restore norms. I can guarantee you we are going to continue to restore norms in that community that so desperately needs a return to normalcy. And the fact that folks get to come through the door and the first person they see is a nurse, and then there's going to be a doctor from Penn Addiction Medicine who will prescribe them MAT in the parking lot, and they will begin their journey and end up in Riverview is exactly the kind of work that we should be engaged in, and I'm proud to do it as a city servant.
Thank you, Mr. Gear. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll come back.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Kathleen Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to place on the record a point of information that this is our budget process. Wherein the members of City Council, per our roles and responsibility, are charged with ensuring that we understand how the city dollars are spent. And so I just wanted to put on the record that I do think it's a fair question that begs an answer prior to the 6-month period, even if you don't have all the information, because we are undertaking this process and making a very soon to make determinations on a number of budget allocations across city government, and I do think this is a fair question from Councilmember O'Rourke that should be answered. And if you don't have the answer today, my request is to provide the information in writing to our council president for dissemination to all the members of council prior to us undertaking this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember.
You're welcome. Chair recognizes Councilmember Hardy, but also just to follow up, Mr. Gear. Mr. Gear, just to follow up for the
Yes.
record that the information that be provided,
Yes.
that Majority Leader Richardson requested. Chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Hardy. Point of information, Chair recognizes Councilman Ketchy Lozada.
I'm just going to ask that folks actually speak into their microphones because my hearing aids are missing some of what you all are saying. So if you could just be so kind as to speak into your microphone, I want to capture everything that you all are saying. Thank you so much.
Speak into your microphone.
Okay, all right, we good now? My time didn't start yet, right?
No, your time won't start yet, Mr. Hardy. It won't be a long-winded day.
Don't worry, I'm going to be fast, I'm not going to be long-winded.
Take your time, sir.
First, always, you have to give props where they're due. I was working on a young man to get him into treatment for a couple of years now, and he went in front of the judge and decided that he wanted to go into treatment. He spent 2 months over at 8th and Girard, and then was transferred over to the Wellness Village. Just a point of information so everybody knows, the Wellness Village is not where they're being treated. They go for treatment. The Wellness Village is aftercare and housing. So he is now in the Wellness Village. Thank you, Malcolm, and your people for helping this young man. He came to see me the other day on one of his outs. He's currently looking for a job. He looked great and was very excited about the wellness facility and how dignified it actually was, especially since he had just come from 8th and Girard. And, if you can get sober at 8th and Girard, you can get sober anywhere. But my questions now, I would like to know how you see the Wellness Court and AMP working together, because us in the Kensington Caucus, we see it as two cogs in a wheel. We believe that they need to be worked hand in hand, and AMP is one of the most effective tools in the tool bag. I think what my colleague was trying to get at with the people not staying was different, because that's not the AMP program. AMP program, they're actually...
Member Hardy, speaking to the microphone.
I'm sorry,
for
the
your
AMP program's
colleagues.
court stipulated. So the one that they were released from, and I heard the same stuff, was PAD, when they go in voluntarily. They went in, decided they didn't want to be there on the required ride to the place and jumped out or whatever. But the other program is court stipulated, and that's hence the reason there's a difference between the two of them, both having different places, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you see that, and are we going to see AMP continue to operate? Because while AMP is actually mostly funded through the courts, it's a court-funded program, there are some costs that the city does have to accumulate. So just want to make sure that when you're thinking of the wellness, that you realize that they're two separate things that also we need, just like one or the other. So just trying to figure out about funding the actual AMP, the extra that's needed for that also. And other costs that come up with that, which is like the PD's office needs extra money to run 5 days a week too. I think they told us it was an extra $1 million.
That's right. That's right, Councilmember. Thank you for the question. And we've included that in the budget, asked for them to be able to continue their partnership, that $1 million, and provide that support. But to your point, I think both programs so far have really complemented each other. We have a judge who oversees both Neighborhood Wellness Court and AMP. And we've had instances where folks have been taken into Wellness Court on the summary, and they had AMP bench warrants, meaning that they were in the AMP program, but had failed to appear at that court hearing. And they were brought right back before the judge to reintegrate that person into their treatment, into their course. And it's the judge who's familiar with them and their history and all of that. So I think it's only going to strengthen our supports and our diversionary programs for folks who are engaged this way. It's that first step of a summary offense, and then it steps up to the AMP program, which is a more severe penalties, more severe outcomes, possible record, that kind of a thing. And then there's interventions below, Neighborhood Wellness Court, like PAD, where we're offboarding people before it's pre-arrest. And then we have things before that, outreach and services and walk-in. So it's just a necessary part of the spectrum of dealing with folks who are coming in for substance use disorder.
So we have your commitment that AMP will
Yes.
stay around, and you are?
You have my commitment. It's a great program, and it's necessary in that
And
spectrum.
they're all great programs. Pat,
Right.
they do fantastic work. This guy's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't
Kurt
want
August,
to
for the record.
discount one for the other. I'm just explaining that in our caucus opinion is that.
Could you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry, in our caucus opinion, it's all one, thing, working together so that we have more tools in the toolbox. If they want to go voluntarily, great, but if they commit a crime and we have to use the other program, it's there.
Right.
It's about getting them into recovery in the long run. So I appreciate your commitment to that. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilmember.
You're welcome. Councilman Ketsi Lozada, Councilman Jamie Gautier, then Councilmember Brooks. Did you have your button on? Because it's not on. Then Councilmember Brooks. I got it.
Thank you, Council President. First, thank you. Thank you all for the work that you're doing around the entire
Excuse me,
wellness
can you speak into the
ecosystem.
microphone?
You being fresh.
I'm dead serious. Go ahead.
Fresh,
Go ahead.
fresh. Thank you, Council President. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. And thank you for the work that you all are doing in Kensington. Kurt, shout out to you. We hit you hard at the beginning when you first came into the neighborhood. And I appreciate you continuing to come and hear community residents out and really work hard to figure out how we did the necessary work while still ensuring that their voices were prioritized, and we're grateful for that. This is new, right? This ecosystem that is being built is new. It's not something that we see anywhere else in any other city. And so success is going to be measured by the number of people that came in front of us, the number of people that accepted treatment, the number of people that we saw in that revolving door or not in the revolving door, actually moving on to living successful, healthy lives. And so we have to have those numbers. Those numbers are extremely important. I have seen firsthand how wellness court works. I've sat in that courtroom. I've listened to those who have come in front of the judge. I've seen the judge interact with these individuals. I've heard their challenges. I've seen and heard success stories. I've seen providers work alongside people who, when they're in front of the judge, maybe are not ready, but before they walk out, they end up being ready because of the conversation and the interaction that was had. But those numbers are important. And I was gonna ask some of those numbers, but I hope to see them soon. My question, though, is, you are asking or you're considering an expansion. Number one, would you all consider the expansion to remain at 3901? And would you all consider the expansion running at the same time as AMP? Because I think that both of them are extremely important programs. And number three, can you explain the difference between AMP, Wellness Court, and Treatment Court?
Yes,
Because I think they're all three different. They all offer different options. But I think that if folks understood the difference between the three of them, they would understand why Wellness Court is so important.
Thank you very much for the for the question, council member, and I truly value partnership with all of our council members. We've worked on some issues, we've worked on various issues, and I truly value this partnership with all of you, and I really value our partnership in all of the conversations we've had late night and otherwise about the folks in your councilmatic district and what they're facing. So to answer your question, expansion, yes. We want to continue to expand that 3901 Whitaker. It's just, the city has this lease. It is operated by Marikey. We are partners with Marikey up there, and they do really, really, really great work. We now have secured the parking lot where we think we'll be able to do some programming out of the parking lot. It makes sense, and we will be getting access to the top floor where we'll be able to continue to put social services, connections on that top floor and really make it the Kensington Wellness and Support Center. That's why we changed the name there. We do want it to operate that 5 days a week and maybe more into those off hours, into the weekend. We think that AMP, it would be tremendous if AMP could be on those same days as well. All hands on deck. We're willing to try anything, and we think that makes sense. Already the off-hours support that PAD offers. So we're gonna PAD with our expansion that we're asking in the budget. We're gonna be going to 24/7, 365, our Kensington Support Wellness Center up there offering services. They already do Sunday to Friday overnight and have engaged something like 500 people in 3 months. So 500 people in 3 months just by operating, that's not the weekend, that's Sunday night to Friday at night of folks who are coming in to get services. We're gonna take that onto the weekends. In the summer, we're gonna be live 24/7, hopefully by the end of that month, and that's just a lot more folks. So it's really all coming together, and we're just gonna continue to push on it. To answer your second question, the difference between AMP and Wellness Court. Wellness Court, again, is that lower summary offense is what the police would be bringing folks into custody on. Very low exposure for a reason, immediate expungement if they complete successfully. So that's an immediate thing. With Wellness Court, it's someone's openly using drugs or they're intoxicated. They don't even need to have it. They're intoxicated or they're on the sidewalk, obstruction of highways. Those are all summaries where we can say, okay, you're coming with us. You're very intoxicated. You're wandering into traffic. You go through the door of Wellness Court. You are seen by a nurse. You are seen by a doctor. You could get medically assisted treatment. You get a housing specialist who tries to understand your housing needs and will set you up with that. You meet with a behavioral health specialist who says you're here on the ASAM level of treatment. And then their attorney down there says, okay, you can either go to court this afternoon, the immediacy of it. You can either be in front of a judge this afternoon for a summary trial that they'll be ready to have, and get a fine if you're convicted, or you've just gotten medically assisted treatment or whatever, you're thinking a little bit clear, we have this recommendation for you where you can be in a bed today. And that's with Wellness Court. It's immediate, it's same day. AMP Court, someone is arrested on a misdemeanor, higher level crime, more exposure. They don't go to the Kensington Wellness Support Center. They go to a cold cell at 3901 Whitaker that does not have a nurse, that does not have a housing specialist, that does not have medically assisted treatment, that does not have behavioral health specialists, doesn't have any of that. They just go to the cell. If they have a warrant, You're going up to State Road, period. Wellness court, you have a warrant. We're working to get that warrant cleared if it's a low level so that you can enter into treatment. So again, AMP, you're going up to State Road if you have that warrant. If you don't, you're being processed, you're probably getting bail, you're probably getting released that day, and you're probably, in a lot of cases, going out to court, going right back out to the street when you don't have that immediacy, right? You're given a subpoena to come down to the Criminal Justice Center. That's AMP, but though very critically important to the piece, right? It's a necessary also component of diversion, but it's different. It's not as immediate. And you don't need the crime of having drugs or using drugs. You don't need, it's just public drunkenness, intoxication, these summary offenses, right? And then there's treatment court. Treatment court, as I understand it, and I don't want to speak too much about it because it's been a long time since I was at the DA's office, but treatment court is meant more for people who are engaging in drug dealing and have, many folks are in deal with drug dealing, and we're giving them options. We're making sure that they also, if they're swept up in some stuff, they're caught dealing, it's for those folks who need an opportunity, but those are drug dealers, and so they're in that misdemeanor felony tier.
I think that part of what you miss is and I think it's extremely important, is the compassion and the connection that the judge and the individual have while standing in that room. What I witnessed when I was there was a conversation between a person of authority and someone in desperate need, talking to one another almost as if no one else was in that space. That's the level of connection that the judge and the individual who is suffering in that moment have in wellness court. You don't see that everywhere. I think that it's important, right? That person walks in and they don't know what is gonna happen at that moment. And I don't think that when you think about a judge, you're walking and you're like, I'm going to jail, right? Mm-hmm. The person that is standing there doesn't believe that there's a judge that has so much compassion for him or her. It's insane. And so I think that I encourage all of my colleagues. I can't even explain. I was moved to tears. I was moved to tears with the individual that stood in front of this judge, and the judge had so much compassion for him that he forgot what he was, and the conversation just became them, and he accepted services right there. There were so many people there ready to help. I don't think that individual was ready to receive all the support that he received. And this is something new. This ecosystem is being built from the ground up with those who are suffering from addiction as the priority. Getting connected right then and there on the spot. Please, I encourage each one of you to take a Wednesday and just go sit in that space and listen to Judge Lewandowski and those individuals have a conversation about how they got there and how tired they are, and how much they really want support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
So you are. Councilmember Gautier, then Councilmember Brooks, and then Councilmember Rulandau. Then we will be wrapping it up.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon, Director Geer. Thank you to you and your team for being here and for the work that you do on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Councilmember.
The FY26 budget emphasizes interdepartmental collaboration as we, in our efforts on violence prevention. I think I understood your example in response to Councilmember Dr. Phillips about how this plays out in Kensington, but I wanted you to expound more on that interagency collaboration. So can you describe how OPS collaborates with other city agencies agencies or nonprofits to serve individuals and communities, especially youth and those experiencing mental health challenges, who might be either victims or sometimes perpetrators of violence? And can you specifically name the funding, resources, and activities that drive that collaboration? And then I have another question around our 24-hour response. So I know that OPS just started in FY25 measuring the percentage of shooting incidents responded to by one or more OPS programs within 24 hours. So I know that you don't have data for the full time period, but I was wondering if you could give us a sense of what our track record and percentage is as far as responding to shooting incidents within that 24-hour time period year to date. Are we hitting that 100% metric at this time? And if not, what are barriers and what supports and resources do you need to hit that metric?
Thank you very much for the question, Councilmember. To answer your first question, I think GVIJ would probably be the best example, one of the great examples. Again, almost everything we do is interagency and relies on some assets from MDO, police department, community partners, and beyond. But with GVIJ, we have Dion Sumter and his team who will go out on the weekends, and they are going to see and do home visits of folks who are the likeliest, by the police department's intelligence, the likeliest to either be shot or killed or to shoot or to kill, right? So the police department identifies these folks. Dion goes out with his team, knocks on their door on a Saturday. They have in the van, and I've been in the van, they've got a mother who's lost a child to gun violence, so that that mother can provide her a perspective to whomever answers the door on the other side. They've got folks who are prepared to offer jobs, not like a week from now, but jobs within a couple of days, employment opportunities, mental health supports. And
all these people are in the van?
Say again?
Are all these people in the van, or
these people are all in the van?
Okay.
But yes, it's pretty cool. They got two vans.
It's a big van. Yeah.
They're pretty, yeah, they're cool vans. And I'm sure we could have you out, or anyone else who would want to be out on one of those can certainly see that.
I would love to go. I've asked for this before, so I'll take you up. Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see. And in the one time I was out there, I think last summer, we had Miss Phyllis jump out. And as soon as the person was not there on the list, but her mother was. So that's Miss Phyllis, that's her calling card. She jumped up, went, interacted, had a very long conversation. The point being to continue to inform the parent, where is your son? These are the resources, we'll get them resources, we'll get them what they need in that help. Now we're extending that to juveniles, as you know. Here's the partnership with the federal government. Representative Scanlon secured that $615,000 so we could expand that GVI program to juveniles. They don't have to be on a list identified by police. That's grandma is concerned about their kid, there's gonna be a number to call. Already we're servicing 40 kids who are in this GVIJ program. I'm trying to think if there's so many other partners involved with that particular program. It really truly is interagency, but that's the kind of work we do.
Okay, and just for clarity, these sort of wraparound resources that you're offering through GVIJ, this is not just staff that's working for OPS. You're saying you coordinate with Commerce on the jobs or with DBH IDS. Is that how the interagency collaboration works?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Thank you. And then can you answer the second question about sort of responding in 24 hours? How often are we meeting that metric?
80%.
Okay. What's the barrier and what do you need more of?
That's a good question, Councilmember. In all candor, I'd like to circle with my team. We can provide you a written response, but I want to get it right. I want to get what the barriers are to that question so that we can solve it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Council President.
Thank you. Councilmember Brooks, and we will be wrapping up with Councilmember Landau. Then we have appropriations meeting.
All right, thank you so much, Council President. Where do I start? I had similar questions to Councilmember O'Rourke, so I'm gonna just submit mine in writing as well. But one thing I tend to realize, things that have big numbers, you have all the answers for, and the things that we're assuming have smaller numbers, you can't answer those questions. But I'll wait for it in writing. and I
Member Brooks,
understand-
can you speak in the microphone
Oh,
for me,
okay.
please?
Yeah, sure
I
will.
heard it, though.
You heard me though, right?
I heard it, Councilmember.
Okay. So my questions, I'm gonna just move on to the next thing and I'll get, can you provide more detail about the new administrative staff and their roles in expanding the Office of Public Safety Operations? Specifically, I want to understand how many new positions are being created and how many are being transferred from the MDO? And are all of these dedicated to the Wellness Center? And part two, what departments do you coordinate with for the encampment clearances? And what is the total expense of each encampment suite? And I know you have this information on the dashboard, but it's 2 months behind. And I was wondering when we can get weekly updates or a better update of this so we don't have to answer questions this way.
Sure. So your first question, just remind me, I'm sorry, Councilmember?
About
numbers?
the new positions.
Oh, yes, thank you. So, no, they're not all dedicated to the Wellness Center. In fact, we're still trying to build out some of our administrative work for the Wellness Center. We've been able to accomplish the pilot with just all internal resources. For example, we had a very talented individual who is a social worker who could stand up immediately some of the needs we needed around assessing people. So we just put one piece and put it in the other. A lot of our administrative new folks that we brought on have been in the spirit of fulfilling, I think, the Office of Public Safety's interagency mission and the work that we're doing to try and tie all our offices together. So that would be the Director of Interagency Partnerships, that's the title. So really putting an emphasis on the work, and that's how we utilize that piece. If it's a project, so for example, mobile providers in Kensington, focusing on that issue. It's an email to him. He's emailing DBHIDS, he's emailing law, he's emailing all the health, all the parties, and setting up a meeting, and then following that. So that's how that operates, making sure that we have someone dedicated to knowing those pieces, those assets, and being able to communicate the needs. We have our director of, yes, do you have a follow-up?
No. I think what I'm asking for before my time runs out, because we're asking for descriptions and you're giving this like long things, if we can have these in writing.
Sure.
Because like a lot of these things cost a lot of money that we're responsible for saying yes and no to. And we just want to make sure that we understand the sequence of operation and exactly what are we agreeing to. So whether it's 1 million, 2.6 million, adding up to $100 million, we need to know exactly where every million is going because we're going to be held accountable for it. So if we can get these breakdowns in writing, whether it's staffing allocations around the Office of Public Safety Operations, the Wellness Support Center and where people are going, the difference between AMP, PAD, and whoever and who's paying for it, for us to receive the information like this, pieced together, doesn't give us the opportunity to adequately say, yes, you can have $100 million. And I'm putting a big number out there because you guys can figure out 1, 2, 5 million here or this, but we can't even determine that when we're just getting the information piecemealed or we can't get the information at all.
So there would be, and to answer your question here, and we will get you more detailed explanation as well in writing, but 5 would be for administrative staff. There would be 11 new for the Wellness Court, and then 8 for our Office of Reentry Partnerships, particularly supporting P3 and the great work that they're doing.
Eight for the Office of Reentry?
Yes.
Okay, Asada, that's what's up. No, they be going up to the prisons doing the work. I seen them, but okay.
Yep, just can we
Member
have it in
Brooks?
writing? I'm just asking for it in writing, that would be very helpful.
Councilmember, yes.
Member Garrett, Mr. Garrett, please provide the information to the chair as a request to Member Brooks.
Yes, Councilmember.
As we wrap up, Councilmember Rulandell.
Thank you so much. I know I had to come in a little late, so hopefully I'm not overlapping. I'm just going to ask some quick ones and look forward to the information that you provide as well to everybody else. You said that through the Wellness Court there has been 64 referrals. How many people have gone to the Wellness Village from there?
So, due to the number, and Due to the number, we cannot specifically say because it would be identifying. We believe it would be identifiable because it is not a large number. We can say that there are people who've been through, who've made it to the end.
Are there other ways to get to the Wellness Village other than Wellness Court?
Yes.
Okay. So my understanding is one has been referred, has gone from Wellness Court to Wellness Village, and here's my real question. This is not how I thought it was supposed to be set up initially, but my understanding is you go through Wellness Court, and if you agree to go to treatment, you go to a 30, 60, or 90-day treatment facility before you get to the Wellness Village. What has been the success rate of the folks going to 30, 60, and 90 treatment plans? And who are they? Who are we contracting with? And
Right.
is the city funding that as well?
So these are all great questions. And I think the more days and weeks that go by, the more we're able to answer that question. So 30 days ago, we wouldn't be able to, or rather, let me go back, 90 days ago when we started the thing, we wouldn't be able to, that number would be 0 because someone wouldn't have had the opportunity to do 30, 60, or 90. So there are folks who are in the system, and then when they come out, whether it's 30, like they're in the system, in other words, and they will come out at some point, and we will have that more information, but we're so early on to the point I think we were trying to make that we just can't reliably say because there's still folks in the system, right?
I
And
understand.
They could complete tomorrow,
How
the
many
next day.
people have selectively taken them, left the programs, 30, 60, or 90? How many people have gone in, and how many people have checked themselves out and not made it to the end goal? I will tell you in the very beginning, I thought the Wellness Village was going to be the place where people would go, start to go through their, get through their medical regimen, to actually start transitioning into the larger part of the Wellness Village. Then we found out they're going to 30, 60, or 90s first, and my understanding is a lot of people are not getting through that process, so they're not making it over to the village in the end.
Councilmember, you're hitting on something that right now, we pivoted a lot with Wellness Court for the better. You are hitting on something that we are improving, and this is probably one of the most exciting things in my current life, is the ability to, when we get that doctor in who's going to be giving the MAT, we know that we're going to have more success. This is a pilot, so we're adding things to it that we think make success and will help. To your point, we found by a couple of examples, and I'll give you that example, that when those folks are getting that MAT, when they're getting it right after arrest or whatever, they're in a much better place. They will accept services. They'll go to the 30, 60, 90. They'll make it to the end. We are plugging that part into Wellness Court where they'll be able to be stabilized. And we've got some more planning around that will be even more robust. The example I would give to your point is we had folks who did not make it through Wellness Court. They came in, they were too sick, we took them to Episcopal, got a subpoena for a summary, and said, come back next Wednesday when you're stabilized. So they stabilized them at Episcopal. Guess what? They came back to Wellness Court the next Wednesday when Wellness Court was operating and accepted services and went in. And to my original point, we don't know where they're at in the 30, 60, or 90 because they're in, right, hopefully. But we, to your point, we want them to get to the end. We want them to get to Riverview, and we're building in those systems to make sure they're as successful as possible.
Okay, love the names of the programs that we're working with, love to know how we're
Yes.
funding them, love to know how many people are going in and how many people are self-checking out. I don't remember what we call that, self-leaving. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a last member of discretion, Dr. Phillips is a rapid, real quick, we all got appropriations meeting after this.
Just really quickly, I just wanted to note that, Town Watch Integrated Services plays an incredible role in the city. I just want to see how we can further expand that program.
I want to support that. Now, I'll be upfront. I've been asking that question since it was the Kennedy administration, right? And I think it might have been before Kenny. Town Watch was a little more out. They were actually out in the community a whole lot more, right? So is there a plan to integrate Town Watch in our overall strategy in terms of public safety? Also, could we consider, I know we have a contract with PAN, but PAN belongs inside the Philadelphia School District, right? Back in the day, Benny Swans and other gentlemen who created the organization, Mr. Bill Mills, and Shondell remember this, we were actually, this is my activist days, so I try to, progressives, you can't out-progressive me. Like, as an activist in the neighborhood, right, around this issue of gun violence, we were actually going with PAN in the schools, right? But now, they go in the schools, but there's not an official contract with the district. So it's kind of like they're doing the work, but don't get the additional funding. So we can have a longer conversation about that, but what is the plan for townwide integrated services to be a part of the strategy to keep our cities safe?
Yeah, they are an important part of the strategy.
How much is their budget this year?
So their budget is just under $1 million, Council President, $0.8 million. And in the work that they do, to your point, right, we got Pedals for Peace, which is a great program. They're going to be having our kids ride safe bikes through. We've got them, they set up the first last year ever Public Safety Awareness Month. They operate our safe corridors in coordination, get volunteers.
So why the budget only $1 million? Just asking. If they're so significant
right.
as a part of a tool to keep our cities safe, then I would just say that, part of your strategy maybe want to look at investing more and expanding, because they were very, very successful at being integrated in the community. And they also shift the narrative of Townwatch being a traditionally mainstream organization. So they're actually in the neighborhood, on the ground, and you also hire regular people through Townwatch to be integrated. And so I personally don't think $1 million is really a show of a priority in terms of what we got, close to $7 billion budget. It's just my response, respectfully. Dr. Phillips?
Yeah, and I just, that was the point I was trying to make, is that you can't have as many town watches in the city of Philadelphia if you only have like 2 special liaisons, going out into the community. What I would like to see is that they literally are, for every community, they're going out and organizing the community and teaching them how to do the town watch. So I could be able to say, we organize this many town watches in each district in the city of Philadelphia, not just the 9th district. And I think that's really bringing that one Philly vibe and community connection. I just want to echo that. I just don't understand.
Point of information for Member Young, and we'll wrap it up after that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to get some clarity that, we always say Townwatch is getting their budget requested for $1 million, but aren't there applicants for CEG grants that are more than that as well, more than what Townwatch budget is?
So there are applicants that will have more than $800,000, yes. Yes, and they're running programming for a year, and whatever their operating costs are, we look at. But let me just be very clear about this for the record. This has been an incredible experience. I have an incredible group of folks, as you've seen my team here. And nothing makes me happier when I see Anthony Murphy walk into my office. I know, and seeing his folks, they do incredible work, and we value it so much. I hear what you all are saying. I just want to leave it by saying that they're incredible. They're always out there at the community. They're the first to go out to these community events and be ready for everyone and set this stuff up. So
I support you, right?
We're tremendously proud of them.
I've known Anthony Murphy for 20
right?
years, right? I mean, we all know Anthony Murphy. He's great at his job and what he does, but we need to really invest in that. Then
That's
Thank
always
you, Mr. President.
always saying is Mr. Gear. I know somebody probably sending you messages, but it is what it is. The reality is that I know you value him, right? And it's just not just about him. It's about the work that they do, right? It's just another tool in your toolbox that I think that you could put on steroids. Put them in the schools, right? Put them inside the charter schools. Put them in our school district, right? Put PAN inside the schools. And I just think that'll enhance the things that we're doing to kind of address the issue of public safety in the city. That's all I have, sir.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you, though. You stuck it out for your whole self, though, okay, for the whole time. So commend you for that, stepping up to the plate. But most importantly, we're here as partners, right? We're just doing our job to make sure it's fiscally responsible in terms of how we move forward with this budget, but also as a matter of public safety, everybody in this room is very, very passionate about the issue. So I thank you for your time out of your schedule, coming and addressing, answering the hard questions. And with that being said, the chair recognizes my majority leader. You ready?
Yes.
My majority leader for a motion that the public hearing and meeting on the bills and resolutions before the committee today stand in recess until Wednesday, April the 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. in room 400, City Hall.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the public hearing and meeting on the bills and resolutions before today stand in recess until Wednesday, April the 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. And this meeting stands in recess till Wednesday, April the 9th at 10 a.m. of 2025. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Council President.